All right, Andrea Borgen Abdallah, community manager for Ray's High Road Restaurants, which is a subsidiary of One Fair Wage. Could you give us an overview of each of those organizations?
One Fair Wage is basically an advocacy organization that's focused specifically on eliminating the tipped minimum wage across the country. Kind of what we like to call it is the sub-minimum wage. And a lot of folks, especially if you're in a state like California, don't know that in most parts of the country, there's actually a two-tiered wage system. Basic minimum wage, which is generally really low already. And then there is another tipped minimum wage, which is specifically for tipped employees and is disgustingly low. In most states, it's $2.13 an hour. And so the goal of One Fair Wage is to get rid of that two-tiered system, to only have one minimum wage, but for that minimum wage to also actually be something that people can live off of. And so increasing that minimum wage to something real. In most states, we're aiming for $15 an hour. I think in a lot of states, that's also not actually a livable wage anymore. Mm-hmm. And so joining in fights that advocate for continuing to increase that wage with the cost of living. And then Ray's is specifically a community of restaurant owners who not only support this legislation and advocate for it, but also just want to see the industry change and is tired of crappy pay and benefits and lifestyle that this industry kind of continues to perpetuate. It really was built on the backs of these minimum wage, sub-minimum wage workers. And my role in particular is to support these restaurant owners with programming and resources to really think through their business operations and implement better practices, more sustainable practices to create a better industry that we're all going to be prouder to work in.
How did the pandemic exacerbate some of those existing issues with restaurant work?
I don't even know where to start with this one, but I think the immediate sort of realization, and this is something that I think a lot of people who work in the industry already knew, but it became much more public and something that our consumers learned to appreciate and care about and also want to take a role in changing. It's just like the week-to-week nature of our business. When we were shut down in March of 2020, no one had the cash in their bank account to float them for more than a week. There was a reason that so many people immediately closed. They couldn't pivot to takeout because takeout wouldn't be enough. It wouldn't be enough to pay their bills. It wouldn't be enough to do any of the things that needed to happen to continue to try to stay open and keep the lights on. And I think that that's something that is true from the top down. I've never met a restaurant owner who didn't want to make the industry better, who didn't want to pay better wages. But restaurant owners, for the most part, also aren't making a whole heck of a lot of money. And the margins are really slim. And it's something that kind of trickles down where the restaurant owner is working 80 hours a week and not getting paid very well. And I think the pandemic was the first time that restaurant owners had a second to step back, not work 80 hours a week, look at their lives and their businesses and think, why do I keep doing this? Why am I perpetuating this system? And what can we do to make sure that this doesn't happen again? So many employees were either laid off or furloughed or just kind of out of work. And I don't think any restaurant owners were happy about having to be put in that position. And I think trying to come up with ways that we can prevent that from happening again is a really high priority in our industry right now. The ones who own restaurants in $2.13 an hour states who really are values aligned, who really want to make things better, who really want to pay higher wages, have a really hard time doing that on their own. Because if you are the only restaurant on the block paying $15 an hour, your prices are a lot higher. It's really challenging. Some people are able to make it work, and I totally commend them, and I am grateful for them and for the sacrifices that they make to really be the outliers in places like that. But I think for the most part, this is really about leveling the playing field and making paying a living wage a bare minimum to do business in our industry.